Now, the 57.8 billion naira worth of food palliatives approved for members of the National Assembly by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for onward distribution to their constituents is raising dust. While some lawmakers confirmed receiving palliatives said to be worth 200 million naira for senators and 100 million naira for members of the House of Representatives, others denied that. This is just as many constituents across the country are accusing their representatives of hoarding the items. The presidency, while showcasing Tinubu's scorecard in palliatives disbursement to Nigerians, had revealed that each senator got 200 million naira worth of palliatives and 100 million naira worth of palliatives for each member of the House of Representatives. Now, this development is on the front burner today on our program, and we have in the studio Nuruddin Hamanyero. He is a politician and a veteran from the Nigerian Navy, and also we have Dr. Sam Oguche from Yaga Africa to do justice to this issue. But before we commence our discussion, let's listen to the video of Honorable Dekeri Anemero, a member representing Esako Federal Constituency, which has since gone viral.
We thank God I'm back in the Esako Federal Constituency to celebrate the Christmas with our people. I want to appreciate President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for deeming it fit to give all the members of the House of Representatives palliative grains. So here you have 2 trailers of rice. You can see 1 trailer on the right, 1 on the left. So I prepared this for my constituent here in Esako Federal Constituency. So I want us to celebrate the Christmas in a very joyous mood. Thank you so much. There's a trailer here. These are 2 trailers here. Give way. And now put one of those states. Here is another one. This one is not up to. This is about 400 bags that we have here. There's 2 trailers of rice here. This is 400 bags. Can you see the rest? Then another trailer here. I have about how many bags of rice? About 900. One because of the space. All in all, we have 4 trailer load of rice. That is 600. That is 6 times 4. That is 1,000. 6 times 4, 2,400 bags of rice, which we have branded in my name for my federal constituency.
Well, there you have it. You have Dekeri Anemero, a member representing Esako Federal Constituency, revealing the palliatives given by the presidency. Well, gentlemen, we've seen that video, and welcome again on the program this morning, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let me start with you, Hamayero. We've seen that video, and it's generating a lot of buzz. Not just the video, but because of the seeming controversy around the issue. Some lawmakers have said something about not receiving, this worth of palliatives and all that. And so that's back and forth. And the question of whether the people that this is intended for will eventually get whatever it is that was given in their name, is now on the table. What do you make of all the controversy around this?
First of all, I will. There has to be a communication that is adequate, and it should come from the presidency. Let it be very clear that these palliatives have been, or funds have been released to members of the National Assembly to go and make palliative available to reduce the suffering of their constituents. If that is clear from the federal government or the presidency, then, because even the person we are looking at now, the member from Esako, should have made a statement about it, because he only said, I'm making this available for my constituency people so that we celebrate the Christmas in a nice way. It could be from his pocket.
He did mention at the earliest. He did mention that it was given by the president.
But I didn't really hear that. I only heard.
He mentioned.
Now, if he said that, then there is room for us to ask questions, because to tell you, just 2 weeks ago, I contested for member House of Reps. I was in my constituency. I visited for 5 days. And I was asking this question, have we really called our leaders across board, from the governor of the state down to the senator, the reps, and even the members House of Assembly? What have you done from the time you were sworn into office to now? This is December. Can we review things together? And what is your plan for 2024? Now, assuming this, like the honorable member from Isako said, was given by the presidency, by the president, is true, assuming 100% is true, then the constituency people in all parts of the country should hold their members accountable, both the Senate and the members House of Representatives. Because I raised this question, nobody is talking. We don't talk. There is I don't know, is it because of how we got these people elected into their positions? We compromised, we threw away our right, accepted things as packages from those people, voted them into office without even knowing what they are coming to do. And now, politics has become business, just like the former president said. Siyasa sana in Hausa.
But we wouldn't really say Nigerians don't talk to. Nigerians, if there is one thing, especially on social media, and we've seen the civil societies also make efforts in order to at least call these people accountable. But speaking on that transparency that you mentioned, Doctor, the presidency should have informed Nigerians of its kind gesture to them, during the Christmas season. We saw how everything panned out, with people having even difficulty in traveling from one place to another to go to their villages, and the food cost was quite high, that period. So what do you think happened that made the presidency not to release a statement before this? And if not for, a video like this coming out, people will not even be aware of this palliative.
Yes, if you look at the nature of, legislative constituent relations, in Nigeria, you'll find out that Nigerians have a lot of expectations, from their legislators. Expectations that have nothing to do with legislative business. Expectations that have nothing to do with specifically lawmaking, nothing to do with oversight, nothing to do with representation. And that is what you are seeing playing out in this palliative saga. Let's even drop this particular issue now. If you look at an average lawmaker in Nigeria, either at the National Assembly or state assemblies, you find out that they go into things that shouldn't concern them, because constituents expect them to do those things, not knowing the boundaries. Coming to this, the presidency, whether it's true or not, if you look at the video that we just watched, the lawmaker said this is from the president. And he counted, is it 4 or 6 trailers, amounting to 2,400 bags. What would 2,400 bags do if you actually want to touch the lives of Nigerians? 2,400. This may not even be up to the number of voters from a polling unit. Then just a minute. Then you now see the controversy now being whether this actually went to all lawmakers. Some are saying no, some are saying yes. But as he said, it is for the constituents. I wonder why, as you rightly raised, the presidency did not issue an official statement telling citizens, we have given out this for you. Then citizens can now be equipped, not based on speculations, to hold their legislators accountable.
So in this vein now then, do we encourage this practice? Because let's leave the issue of communication in one hand. You mentioned something very striking, and I can imagine that many people will be very sentimental about this, what I'm going to say now. Should we encourage the idea of having lawmakers sharing palliatives? Because from information that we got was that some of the lawmakers went and took the request to the presidency on the basis that their governors and so on distributed certain palliatives, and so on their part, they needed to do something as well. And so that was why the president decided to grant this and say, okay, go ahead and do this. And you talked about the perception of the average Nigerian on their lawmakers. The pressure and the emphasis from the constituents is not really about making laws that will impact the lives of, impact their lives, but much more about the lawmakers providing certain things. And we've seen how sometimes it seems like a justification for lawmakers to dip their hands into what it's not meant for them and so on. So should we encourage the idea of lawmakers sort of deviating from their constitutional role of lawmaking into distributing palliatives?
Okay, first of all, if you look at Nigerians, especially the economic situation, an average Nigerian wants, a certain level of impact from his legislator. And as I said earlier, not directly linked to the business of legislation, not to the business of oversight, not to the business of representation, which are the core functions of the legislature. Now, assuming, I don't know how this palliative came about, but assuming the legislators approached the president, why did they do so? Their constituents don't know what should be from the executive, what should be from the legislature. As far as they are concerned, take example, somebody wants to do a birthday party, he looks for his legislator. He wants to do naming ceremony, he looks for his legislator. He wants to marry a second wife, he looks for his legislator. His mother died, he looks for his legislator. So you see, an average legislator is overburdened. And Nigerians don't want to hear these explanations that, it's not a legislative matter. Because of that pressure that legislators are now battling to come out of, they don't have any option, especially against the backdrop of the fact that they have gotten a name that shouldn't be given to them in terms of pay. Many people believe that legislators are the richest in Nigeria, not knowing that if you hear a figure, it has to do with legislators, their aides, legislative staff. Take National Assembly, for example. You have National Assembly Service Commission, you have a budget office, you have NILS, you have public. So when you put all these things together, all the funds that Nigerians are thinking belong to legislators.
Okay.
So to conclude on that, ordinarily, they shouldn't go into this. But because of the special situation they have found themselves, going by the fact that we are still coming up, then they don't have any option.
Okay.
If you want to deliver according to the yearnings of your people.
I'd like your take on this. I mean, where do we draw the lines? This is coming against the backdrop of the saga at the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, where money meant to go for Nigerians and the less privileged and so on goes into personal accounts and so on, and then results in a saga. So the issue of corruption and the implementation of policies is very crucial. Where do we draw the line for legislators here who are, doing this, and whether or not this will encourage, acts of corruption and misappropriation?
First of all, is to commend the president for doing what he did yesterday. This is just the beginning of the year. We have a lot of expectations, and to start the year with asking a sitting minister to step down for proper investigation to take place is the right step in the right direction. And we expect these things to be sustained. This tempo he has just introduced yesterday to be sustained. And the investigation should go very deep. Like a senator yesterday from the southern Borno, Senator Ndume, who represents, and the chief whip of the Senate, said yesterday on a phone conversation, she wouldn't have acted alone. So the investigation should publish at the end everyone that is tied to this corruption. And whatever decision that will be taken by the president should affect these other people. Because he raises concerns about a cabal that is emerging in the president. He didn't go into detail, but I'm sure he must have seen something or heard something. So to draw the line, The president has to do a lot. He should know that Nigerians are behind him. And whatever that is taken should be recovered.
Yeah, but Hamayero, I'm more concerned about the system of corruption here. How we sometimes, unintentionally perhaps, lay the background for corruption to actually thrive and take place by certain policies, certain actions. So I'm bringing this issue of distribution of palliatives, which is not within the purview of the lawmakers. And we're saying that they are now having to do that. And we know how it is when it comes to, distribution of items like this, how usually sometimes it goes in a different direction, not meant.
First of all, I subscribe to the idea that the lawmakers should distribute. And I have my reasons. We have given them a mandate of trust. We have given them a mandate of hope. We have agreed that in the next 4 years, they should represent us, and they are the ones to mediate between us and the federal government. Like my brother here says, be it in terms of their oversight functions or making legislations. Now, that means the nearest person to the constituency is either the senator or the member House of Reps. So if I have entrusted...
What happened to the local government chairman?
I'm coming.
What happens to the councillors? What happens to the governor?
It's not functioning, so let's forget about it.
So shouldn't we be channeling our energy?
Why shouldn't they be functioning?
We have state members of assembly.
I agree to that, but what I'm telling you is, and we all here know that local governments are not functioning in Nigeria. If they are functioning, the mode of our conversation today will be different. But if the member House of Representatives or the Senate will be honest, now like the Senate, the reps from Isako, by the time you add up these two trailers, he said a trailer I think is 600 bucks. If you add up the two is 1,200 plus another 400, which is around 1,600 or 2,000 thereabout. But a bag of rice today in the market is 40 to 50,000. So as people are speculating that they are giving 100 million, the Senate's 150 or 200, if you divide that is 100 million by 40 or 50, that's the number of bags of rice we are seeing there. It means he has done the right thing. Now, it is just the distribution that will matter. Is he distributing to his APC members or he is distributing to everybody in the constituency? That's the questions we should be looking at. Because...
So in all honesty, do you really think that at that level, distribution will be done, in accordance with what should be and not to party loyalists?
If he is honest to have justified this number of bag of rice to the constituency, then I'm sure he will do the right thing. And that is where involving the people at the lower level, like the members House of Assembly, his coordinators, the party chairman, and other people in the community, where you have the kings and every prominent member, then they come together and design how to distribute this. But I agree 100% that they should share it.
Indeed, okay. We still have a lot to hatch on that one. But Doctor, let's talk about this process of distributing of palliatives. Since the inception of democracy, every government would come and say, I want to, elevate poverty. I want to eradicate poverty in the society. And every government comes with its own different mandates and ways that they want to do this process. But one thing is common. It's like every time they try to move past poverty, we are pushed deeper into the poverty situation. Lots of people would see the different processes of the distribution of palliative. They say that we should involve the village, even the district heads, we should involve this. And then now they are pulling the distribution allegedly through the lawmakers. But then even at that, allegedly, a lot of people did not even know that it's happening. So could it be that whatever way that we follow in order to get these things to reach the people that are really in need of this palliative, it's going to be futile? Should we just drop the whole poverty elevation mandate?
Oh, well, in a democracy like ours, you can't just drop the idea. Because whether we like it or not, many Nigerians are in need of these interventions. The challenge, however, is this manner of distribution. Linking it to what we saw at the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. These programs were designed to improve the lives of Nigerians. But along the line, the outcome is what we are talking about. The same way, legislators are trying their best now in terms of this. Well, taking an example from the so-called representative, he has shown us the trailer loads, which he counted, to amount to 2,400 bags.
Which he is one out of how many?
Yes, so we have not seen what others have done. So let us use what we have seen here as the yardstick, because we've not seen any other one from any other person. Now, this lawmaker will not go about distributing. Definitely some people are going to be put in charge of distributing this. And at the end of the day, you are going to find out that somebody has not gotten even a cup. Others have gotten 2, 3, 4, 5 bags. So you are going to see this corruption is not only at the top, but it goes down the line.
Okay, could doctor, it be the people down and looking at the people up and emulating exactly what is happening?
Well, it's not a matter of any person emulating anybody. Even at the home front, you still have corruption. So we have to, there's this need for moral reorientation. That is why I like what late Dora Quinley was doing at the Ministry of Information then. It begins with me. So if we have moral reorientation, public enlightenment, citizens should know how to hold their legislators accountable.
Okay, Doctor, yes, it's very good, very important to have that moral reorientation, but when the grounds for corruption to thrive are there, when we provide incentives for corruption to thrive, it becomes very difficult to deal with it. This idea of having a palliative from the presidency down to the lawmakers at the national level, by the way, and then down to states and so on, isn't it reinforcing exactly part of the challenges that we are having, that we say the central government is too powerful and that there's need to revive governance at the local level, at the third tier of government, at the local, aren't these opportunities for us to strengthen governance at that level?
Okay, yes, you are right. Ordinarily, the closest tier of government to the people should be the local government, is the local government. But as he said, the local governments have not been functioning well because of what I would call subjugation by the state governors. The central government has been trying. We want to give local governments autonomy. The state governments are fighting it. Why? Because I was just reading this morning a state where they just appointed sole administrators for local government, where the constitution says democratically elected local government. So why are they doing this? They have full control. Looking at the federal structure we have in Nigeria, the federal government shouldn't have ordinarily direct link, because we have federal government, state government, and then the local government. But because these structures are not functioning well, you cannot blame federal legislators for going down. Because if you leave your people without that intervention, this is massive. And that's why I'm saying what the federal government has even done now is even grossly inadequate to actually address the needs of Nigerians. But they've started. The good thing now is that they've started. It is for all stakeholders to make the system work. The government has been trying over the years, but sabotage along the line. You release funds, like what we are seeing at the ministry. How do you disburse funds through a private account? How?
Well,
under the financial regulation.
They call it a project account.
It's not, maybe. Whatever it is public funds, which the law prohibits from being paid into a private account. It's a strict liability offense. Whatever the intent, the law is you must not do it. So if you do it, it becomes, so when you see these layers of corruption, it's a kind of sabotage of the efforts of the government. The intent may be fine, but along the line you will see it. So when you see federal local relations, it tells you that, look, these things have overwhelmed the local government. They don't even have capacity. If you go to many of the local governments today, the workers just come out, put their mats and sit under the trees, rest and go. They wait for the end of the month, allocations come, they take, they go. So what is it that they can do with what they are left with? when the state governments have taken over everywhere.
There's still a lot to talk about.
It's a lot, so it's a big problem.
All right, Hamayero, let's talk about, this controversy happening, because there is still no clear, situation of knowing exactly what the situation was, rather. So we saw some lawmakers come in to say, we did not get this. And there are others that, are giving a bit of hint. And there's been a bit of research being done in different states where some people said yes, they got some things from their members, reps or senates also, while others are saying we did not feel the impact at all. So what could be the reason? As a politician, I want to get your thoughts on what could be happening in that political arena where there's a bit of denial when it comes to this.
With due respect to the electorate, we have lost our moral ground to actually check politicians when they get to public offices. We've lost it for quite a long time. And I tell you, I have seen this happen throughout the period I campaigned during the 2023 general election. Hardly, no matter how you speak to your people and tell them that this is the need, this is how this is your understanding of governance should come through this direction. This is your expectation. This is what you need to equip yourself so that you can check whosoever you are taking to that office, in relation to what you expect from him. But the result is not the case. It has always been, what do you have for me at the moment? And it is a case of give and take. I need 500 naira, I need 1,000 naira. We have reported cases of politicians giving money or handouts to people on election day. And tell me, if I spend 200 million naira to become member House of Reps, how do you expect me to return the first 100 million naira that comes to my hand for palliative? How do you justify it from my constituency? And you benefited from the money.
But you just agreed earlier that you agreed that they should be given that palliative to
I agree.
people.
What I'm saying is, I'm just trying to tell you that I agree they should be given the palliative to distribute. Now it's left for the reps or the Senate to do what is needed, the needful. Go back to his people, forgetting that yes, he has also paid his way into that office. But at this time, this is about their right. Mm-hmm. It's not about the money he spent. And it is with that we change the narrative.
But then I understand you are talking about the attitude of the electorate also towards their leaders and the elected officials.
Exactly. And some people borrowed money to do this. We are just being honest to ourselves. Some people borrowed money and spent this money just because they know it is money that will pave way for me, not how I make my people understand that if I go, they have issues around medical facilities, schools. I can mediate with the federal government to make sure we fix this, we fix that. Nobody wants to hear this. So when he talks about...
They're only interested in the handouts you're going to
when
give.
he talks about moral orientation, I subscribe to it 100%. And it's not a duty of one person. It's a duty of all.
So what should the electorate do in situations like this?
What we should be doing is for the youth. I will start with the youth. What the damages that has befallen our society, we are too young to absorb it. And if we can't wake up to these challenges and come together and face each other and say, this is what we need to do to change this narrative going forward, then we will continue to be in this problem for a long time. And like I said, we have to be talking. Like he mentioned, on the average now, if you go to your village and ask somebody, if you meet somebody that you are a member House of Assembly, all he knows is you should give him money. He wouldn't even ask you about your responsibility. He doesn't know, and he doesn't want to know. All he knows is you have money to give him. So he can't differentiate between the executive and the legislators. His only demand from you anytime, like he said, is money. I am sick money. My children are sick money.
Okay,
and what we should be doing, just to close it, what we should be doing is, I will continue to say this, we need to be checking our representatives at all levels. We have unions, we have trade unions, we have farmers, we have students, we have all manner of unions in all government settings. Call these people at all levels. We are inviting you, this is the end of the year. What have you done and what are you going to do for the next 1 year? And you can use that to follow through. If he's not doing it, you check him. At the end of his 4 years, you have a scorecard.
Do we need to, okay, before we even get to the checking these people, do we even need to? You came out and promised these people that you are going to work for them. You are part of them and you want progress for them. And then these people voted you into office. Should you even be checkmate on your things, you know, to do for your own constituency? Why is it so? Why are these people? Okay, one question I want to even ask you. From, you know, the election in February, which happened in February, to this date, would you say that all the senates and the reps have done at least taken a step towards giving back to their constituency?
I will go with my constituency first. No. Because I have asked, I have used proper mechanism to check. In fact, I have never seen him talk. So I will tell you no. So if I can't call him through the right medium to find out what have you been doing, how do you expect him to do what is right? But if he knows that we call him to order, if he knows that we are prepared to, at the end of his 4 years, give him his scorecard, and that would determine whether he will come back for the second time or not, then...
All right.
Yes.
So one of the qualities of a good leader is accountability. Is one that is ready to be accountable to his constituents. We understand, yes, the level of political awareness in our, in our climb is quite very low, and we cannot say that we do not see the level of ignorance and illiteracy in our system, and how that is also contributing to the way electorates relate with their elected officials. And Dr. Sam, I want you to respond to this. What then should lawmakers do, or I would say politicians or elected officials do, to ensure that people are aware and informed? You know, aside the fact that, yes, you've been elected to do A, B, C, D, and they are supposed to checkmate and follow up and put pressure on you to make sure that you do the things that you are expected to do, yes. But since we know that there is no capacity to actually do that on the part of the electorate, what should the politicians now take advantage of that and continue to perpetuate themselves?
Oh, no, definitely. One, there is need for accountability. And if you look at the nature of politics we have in Nigeria, the best way to do is to be in touch with the people. You know, most politicians, once they win election, they disappear until it is another round of election, and then you have a problem. But that's why an organization like NIWS, National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, has a lot of training programs for legislators, for their aides. Recently, if you watch the DG of the Institute, Professor Abubakar Olawaju Suleiman, he has made clear statements of the readiness of the Institute to develop the capacity of legislators. And that is why recently too, there was this collaboration between that NIWS and Young Africa, where they developed the constituency relations manual, how legislators should relate with their constituents, what you should know about your constituents, how you should take information from your constituents, how you should present at the assembly. Young Africa also has a program to enable legislators organize town hall meetings with their constituents. You can now go, this is what I have done, this is how I presented you, number of bills I've presented, number of motions I've moved, then they'll be able to now tell you what they feel. You'll be able to take feedback, and that calls for establishment of constituency offices. If you are detached from the people, then there will be that communication gap. So for us to get it right, there must be this accountability that legislators should be able to, in terms of performance of legislative functions, it's not when you bring palliatives alone. It's not when you attract projects alone. But what of bills you have sponsored in the House to touch the lives of citizens? It could be related to your people directly or having a national outlook. What of motions you have moved? You can move motions. There's a flood, a kind of flood in your community. There's a disaster in your community. You have community clashes.
Let's take a pause on that one. We'll take a very short break, and then when we'll come back, of course, the discussion continues.
Why did you develop this reputation as somebody who is difficult to work with?
I will tell the truth. No matter whose ox is gored, I will say exactly how it is.
This is where I actually sympathize with commissioners of nowadays, where a commissioner sometimes is just a picture. You find somebody, even a cleaner and the governor's wife, can interfere with their abilities.
Even the ministers, there are very many who respected me, simply because I never complained about them. I never went to ask for a favor. Never.
So none of that has happened?
Nothing.
But if it hasn't happened, do you have hope that now another government coming in?
There's no hope.
So you've given up
I've given
politics?
I've given up. It's gone, it's gone.
Retrenchment from work is the most hated thing by unions. It's a loss of job, means that is loss of life, in fact, for civil servants at that time.
Nigeria's economy, Nigeria's security, Nigeria's intelligence. This is what the materials we were handling. And I thought government would be very interested.
The reasons why you adopted federalism is not because of finesse, not because you like it. It's because of its functional utility.
We started manufacturing leather since 1958. But the most important thing is that if the system is checked correctly, we won't have where we are now.
If somebody has depression.
All right, thanks for staying with us. You're watching Daybreak on Trust TV, and we're talking about the federal government's disbursement of palliatives to members of parliament to their constituents. And we have in the studio Nuruddin Hamayero, a politician and a veteran from the Nigerian Navy, as well as Dr. Sam Uguche from Yaga Africa, talking to us about, that relationship between lawmakers and their constituents. Well, Dr. Sam, you were making a point about how the legislators should relate with their constituents, and how difficult that could be, because sometimes how do you really get your constituents to actually see that some of the efforts that you have made have direct impact on them as a people?
Yes, in that case, as I said earlier, you just have to maintain that constant communication with your constituents, and that is why there is this clamor for, not even clamor, most legislators now have constituency offices with staff. So in that case, you can now, tell the people, especially with the use of social media now, people can now know what you are doing. You move motions, they should know. You sponsor bills, they should know. You have advocated for certain things on their behalf, they should know. And that is why this issue of palliative forms part of it. That, you have seen the pains of your people. There's hunger in the land. There's suffering. Now, can we get something for the people? And that is what is happening. So there are programs now designed at, targeted at improving the capacity of legislators. I mentioned news. Young Africa is also doing it. Building capacity of committees, young legislators. They have had retreats, and it's still ongoing. They are planned, we have planned town hall meetings, even development of legislative agenda for various state assemblies. So these interventions are there to develop capacities of legislators to be able to deliver on their mandate. And that calls for robust constituency relations. In fact, if you go to the House, there's a standing committee in charge of constituency relations. They are going to monitor how, even this palliative, this committee will monitor how you disburse.
Okay. All right. So let's get concluding thoughts from Hamayero. This is quite a difficult one. It's a dilemma for many lawmakers. Here you have a role that is not tangible per se. It's not something that people will see sometimes in physical terms, because you are dealing with issues of lawmaking. It's more theoretical and so on. How do you get them to actually see what you are doing, in a way that they can actually see that it has an impact?
Accountability, like we all agree, is first of all something you have to internalize. Is one day I will be accountable for this, not only with people that I'm representing or are looking up to me, but again with God. And there should be consequences. It seems we have also lost this in our society. When mistakes like this are done, hardly you see consequences. And that is why it has become a norm. Everybody will just do what they want to do, and they know how to get away with it. If you don't want to be accountable, we can hold you accountable. And holding you accountable is, we should stand on our feet. When you come, tell us what is your plan. We don't need your money. What do you have for me? I have a child that has not been going to school. I live in a society that doesn't have any healthcare facility. I have a farm I've not attended to for the past 2 years. I have this and that. If you don't have a plan to fix this or some of this, then you are not for me. And if you know that this is the way you come into any elected position, believe you me, they will all live up to expectation. They will discharge their responsibility. But because we also, how do you justify asking me for money because I want to get your vote, and coming back to tell me that I was giving money to make some palliative for you, and I sit on it? How do you justify that? Like I said from the beginning, you understand? So we need to really draw a line. And it has to be all-encompassing, not just from even the least educated person in the society should understand that this is my role. We should all understand our role in the society. So
who should be in charge of sensitization of even the people that are not educated to understand this?
There is no single setting you go in our society that doesn't have leaders. And that's why I made mention of, if you enter a typical market now in the village, even people that sell grains, they have their leaders. They elect them. People who sell perishables, they have their leaders. People, if you enter the abattoir, people where they sell meats,
the butchers,
they have their leaders. These people, as a politician, we need to sensitize them. And if we can do that between now and 2026, believe you me, we will reorganize this country and we'll bring the right people on board. And the case of what will I get from you before I vote you will be gradually trashed out. Okay. But if we leave it, it will continue and we'll all be in trouble.
Indeed. All right. Doctor, quickly, I just want his perception on this one. What should the president do in terms of this situation that is happening regarding the palliative of the, given to the representative? What should the president do at the moment?
Yes, is monitoring of the whole system. If you have given palliatives for the people, it is for the president to ensure that these palliatives actually get to those who should benefit from them. So, as you said, some are saying we did not get. So it's for the president to even start by seeing that, or by checking who got and who did not get? Could it be that it was a kind of selective palliative system? Could it be that others got, others did not get? Let's see who got. If all of them got, then you have to monitor the pattern. You don't give them and then abandon them. Although it's a separate arm of government, but there is symbiotic relationship existing between both. So they should be able to checkmate each other.
Indeed.
All right. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the program. Dr. Sam Oguche is from Yaga, Africa, and also Hamayero, a politician, Nuruddin Hamayero, a politician and also a veteran from the Nigerian Navy. We appreciate you joining us on Daybreak. We look forward to having you again on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, we'll take a quick break, and then when we return, we'll take a look at the stories on the front pages of our newspapers. Please stay with us.
Rest of Africa, stand and make sure that our people understand.
And the story of the OAU can be told and retold. It cannot be denied that it made a contribution to the process of decolonization of the continent in many ways.
Ethiopia is where it is today in no small part because of the tireless efforts of the African Union and the wisdom of its deeply held belief in the principle of African solution to African problems.
The bulk of African countries were under colonial rule in 1945. So they did not take part in the negotiations that established the Bretton Woods institutions.
So Cameroonians are anxious, Cameroonians are impatient, Cameroonians are like, oh, many of the guys are not talking today. You can read it all over the social media.
Egypt has officially declined to accept fleeing Palestinians for fear that the more Palestinians we accept across the border into Egypt, the more trouble there may be for the country in the nearest and farthest future.
Time to take a look at the dailies on Daybreak. We begin with the Daily Trust newspaper, where we have the lead story on insecurity. It says, bandits return to Kaduna-Abuja highway, abducted 30. It has the riders that says block road for 45 minutes. That's on page 4. Basically, that's the main story on the Daily Trust front page today.
Let's move on to the Punch newspaper this morning. The major story there says Tinubu orders 2 trillion naira poverty relief funds probe. Edu faces the EFCC today. Security aides stop Edu from meeting the president. Buhari minister grilled for about 12 hours. Now, this is the major story, and you can find this and more on the Punch newspaper today. All right, let's move on to the Daily Sun this morning. Beside the headmaster, it says EFCC grills detains ex-humanitarian affairs minister over alleged 37 billion naira misappropriation. The major story says suspended Minister Betta Edo weeks away in security truck. Denied access to Tinubu, Aso Rock tag withdrawn. President directs Finance Minister to conduct diagnostic investigations, and EFCC begins the grilling today. You'll find this major story on page 6. Violation of rights. Court awards Emefiele 100 million naira damages against the federal government. Nevada is saying EFCC to appeal judgment. Now, if you want to see more on that story, you'll find on page 4. Federal government, some states implementing grand plot against the Igbo. That's according to Bianca Ojukwu. Rivers, court reserves judgment in Speaker's suit against Fubara and NAS. UBA surpasses 1 trillion naira market capitalization mark amidst the impressive financials and recognitions. The court adjourns Nnamdi Kanu's 1 billion naira suit against the federal government, the DSS, until March 4th. Beside that, we have the federal government wrecking Nigeria's economy with huge debt. That's according to Obi brands Tinubu's government epitome of profligacy. And below the belt there, it says Abia North APC supports groups and hail Kalu. Now, these are some of the stories on Daily Sun.
All right. So Now let's take a look at the Nation newspaper this morning, where you have the lead story says Better Edu faces EFCC grilling. You have other stories above the masthead. 37 billion naira EFCC quizzes ex-minister Sadia. APC picks Edo candidate February 17. NERC takes over disco over poor performance. You also have other stories. Alia triumphs at Supreme Court. Aiyedatiwa rejects forgery claim. Super Eagles land in Lagos. UBA crosses 1 trillion naira cap mark. So these are some of the stories on the Nation newspaper.
All right, and let's move on to the Leadership newspaper this morning. The top of the page says anti-graft war, EFCC quizzes Sadia and invites Better Edu. Minister suspended to allow transparent probe. That's according to the agency. Edu spotted at the Asu Villa. Interior Minister distances self from humanitarian ministry contract. You find all this on page 4 of the Leadership newspaper there. Now, this this is the major story there, and you can find more on the Leadership today.
On the Guardian newspaper this morning, still on the Better Edu saga and the humanitarian ministry, it says 585 million humanitarian scandal, EFCC quizzes embattled Edu. Others as anti-graft uproar heightens. You also have other stories. NERC cancels Disco's license over 110 billion naira debt, points sole administrator. Security guards backs life imprisonment over sexual assault. Subscribers suffer service disruption over 70 billion naira interconnect debts. UBA exceeds 1 trillion naira market capitalization mark. Reps blame Agric Ministry for delay in sharing Tinubu's palliative. OB deplores huge borrowing, profligate spending on luxury. These are the main stories on the Guardian newspaper.
All right, and with that, of course, we will now review the front pages of the national dailies with Dr. Theophilus Abba, the Program Director of Daily Trust Foundation. Thank you so much, and good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much, and good morning. Happy New Year once again.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Last time we spoke about Zoop. All right, Doctor, let's get your take on the majority of story. We're still in the buzz of what's happening in the humanitarian Ministry of Humanitarian and Poverty Alleviation. What is your take on exactly what is happening? I mean, we heard how the president even rejected seeing her because going to the Aso Villa, she was her pass was taken away from her. Would you say that you expected the president's reaction to be this harsh?
Well, I don't think the president's reaction was harsh. But I'm feeling that, you see, the way she approached, the accusation, it was like, this is a normal thing. You understand? They said, okay, you paid 500 and something million into a private account. I said, well, what's wrong with that? Now, that means that...
but doctor, hasn't this been normalized in the civil service? Is it only because we're hearing that of the humanitarian affairs? Isn't it the practice in virtually all the
Now, if you look at the financial regulation, it shouldn't be so. But then for, if you go on GovSpend is a platform, a portal, where all government contracts are uploaded. Whatever government pays for contract, they are uploaded on that platform. If you go on GovSpend, you would find so many such transactions where funds are paid into private individuals' accounts, But then the argument is that, this money, if you have to distribute them, maybe it's meant for staff travels. Like that is what the argument that came up now, meant for staff travels. So if you pay it into the account of one staff, then it is now paid into the accounts of other staff members. But one of the things that
Why can't that money be sent to all the staffs at the same time from one account?
Well, that is the argument that, I mean, I'm talking about the argument from a many civil servant. But one of the things that shocked me was the fact that, you see, the memo, I don't know if you read the details, the memo which was raised for some of these expenses included flight ticket to Lokoja or Kogi State. I don't know. And of course, you know that there is no airport in Kogi State. There is no airport in Kogi State. So if you are, I mean, you are approving 200,000 for flight ticket for your staff to fly from Abuja to Kogi State, you know, it becomes an issue. Because how are you flying to Kogi State? What? Are you going to hire a private jet?
So there's this thing people are saying, Doctor, could it be that these women, which now people are saying women seem to be the one that are easily caught right in action, could you say that it's because they are not really good in carving, you know, in hiding these things? Because typically of what happened was that immediately this allegation came out, Better, without even making her own research on her own, and granted an interview with channels, we saw that, and she actually, like, should I say, it just roped herself in by the interview that she gave. So could it be that if there is more probe in other ministries, there would be a
not only in that same ministry? You see, because my feeling is that that was a common practice. You understand? And I know that if you talk about a memo being raised to, I mean, for payment, or there are other, I mean, layers of approvals. There's an internal auditor. You know, there's the PAMSEC. You understand? There are other staff who are involved, who are in the system, who know what ought to do, what ought to happen, and what ought not to happen. And I tell you also, there's what we call anti-corruption desk in almost every ministry. That means they are supposed to look at transactions. In the meantime, I say, look, this one does not align with the policies of government. So
where are all these people now? We're expecting to see them, isn't it? They're supposed to be complicit. That's what
I'm driving at. So I am expecting the EFCC to do a holistic review of what has been happening in that ministry. You know, previously we heard so much, you know, oh, this is, in fact, the best place to work under the Buhari government, I was told, was the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. Because, I mean, you travel to places, you are going to deliver money to the people, and you are getting your own cut. You know, you go from state to state to deliver funds, you are giving to vulnerable, and you are putting some in your own pocket. A whole lot of that we heard happened. You know, so I'm feeling that this is just like the tip of the iceberg. Let all the vouchers, you know, I expect the EFCC to look at all the vouchers that, you know, that have been issued for payments. I mean, for even to what we call the vulnerable people over the years. See, that ministry was established in 2019. Let's look at what has happened over that period. If we do that, we will now discover that there was a system in place, a system that did not align with the financial regulations of government. So when we talk about better Edu, she just, even when I heard that speech, she was like, I'm innocent. This was in practice before I came. You know, so why are you able to make a noise about it? You understand? So I don't know. I think Tinubu
do you
have
think
been shocked.
There's probably a political dimension to the whole saga. There are people who are raising issues about the fact that maybe because of some kind of internal politics within the ministry or between the presidency and the ministry and so on, to take her out of the office.
No, I'm feeling that, you see, when something is wrong, it is wrong. You understand? When you are not supposed to pay such amount into a private account, you shouldn't have paid. So if we are not talking about politics and all this and all that,
we know that this is wrong.
That is actually second.
What is wrong is wrong, and we know that. But we have agreed that this is more like a practice that has been ongoing for years. It's not. It didn't start with the Minister of Humanitarian Better Edu, right? So where do we start the investigation from? Can we treat a Better Edu's case in isolation?
No, you cannot. Because you see, if I were involved in the investigation, we have to open all the books. We have to audit what has happened since 2019. You know, because I think Betty met a system in place. And she was trying to say, okay, this is how things are being done. Let me continue. She didn't set up a new system.
Speaking of the system in place, what is your take on the probe on the former minister of that same agency? Do you think that we would get a better result of at least Nigerians taxpayers' money would come back?
Well, you see, if looking at Sadia, the probe of Sadia over what you call money laundering, I know she said that the person involved, the one James Okwete, that she did not even know the person. And when you talk about money laundering, it is a system in which criminally acquired money is being brought into the system to make it look legal. And I'll give you an example. For instance, if somebody does Yahoo, you understand, he gets a lot of money from Yahoo. Then he goes to company B that does legitimate business and say, give me supply. Give me the contract to supply maybe drinks, or maybe to give me a contract to clean your hotel. I'm just giving an example now. Then you give him a contract to clean your hotel, and this money for Yahoo is paid into your account. Then you now give him the commission. That means that, you see, that money that was got from fraud is now brought into the system to make it legitimate. What I'm trying to bring about is this. Even though Sadia claims not to know this person, it's most possible, it's probably that there was a system put in. Maybe this guy was a supplier, and money was stolen from somewhere or another, or even the money was paid into his account because he supplied some things. Maybe not up to the quantity that was delivered. Maybe she was not even dealing with the person directly. Maybe there was a front. Because I tell you, 37 billion is not a small amount of money. And I don't think there's any minister, no matter how naive the person is, that 37 billion will pass through her ministry to somebody and she'll say, I did not know. Unless there was so much money in the system that people were just stealing money. If not 37 billion, you can't claim not to know, how 37 billion moved from your ministry to somebody's account. So, you see, yes, it has a lot of work to do. And I'm thinking that there's excess money in that ministry. Because the World Bank is giving them grant, the federal government is giving them grant, international organizations are giving them grant, and there's all these statistics about poverty, about about vulnerable people, about Arimajiri, about this.
Statistics that we cannot really even vouch for.
We cannot. So, and they are cashing on it. You say, oh, there's poverty here, let's give them money. There's poverty, let's give them money. You know, even in the last days of Sadia, she was advocating for a one-bank loan of about some millions of dollars. About 3 days to go, she was saying, oh, let's get this approval. Because there's every document to prove that there's poverty. But if we evaluate the impact of what the ministry has done since 2019, I don't think they have made enough. They made much impact. Which means that some people were busy making themselves, fat with money in the name of alleviating poverty, in the name of humanitarian activities.
Okay.
So I think there has to be an overhaul, and I think I like what the president has said, that the system has to be reviewed generally.
Okay.
To ensure that this fraud does not continue.
All right, so by the singular action of suspending the minister, a lot of people have commended the president for swiftly acting and making sure that whoever is caught, in the whole web is brought to justice and so on. Do you think that the president should extend further, the net of investigation to not only the humanitarian ministry, but even activities done under the previous administration as well? We've seen a lot of such practices in the previous government.
Well, let me just say that I'm not happy that this woman was involved and she has been suspended, because I've been advocating that there should be more women, who should be given such positions in government. So I'm not happy that she made this mistake and she's been suspended. I hope she'll be able to clear, herself and return to that position, But you see, we know that what is happening to the Nigerian economy is as a result of massive fraud. Hypothetically, let me put it that way, under the previous government, there was massive fraud, that need to be investigated. You see, I keep advocating that a lot of money must be returned to the system, because you see, if you look at what happened at the CBN, and what the report by Jim Obaze, has unraveled. It means that some persons were deliberately taking money out of the system, using their positions, using their contacts in government. So much money was removed. We need this money back because the Nigerian economy is so battered. We are in a very difficult, condition. And when you hear, all these things happening, I think we need to bring back a lot of money into the system. And the only way you can do it is by probing the previous government. That is one. But secondly, we must put in place a system that will prevent such things from happening. For those of us who have been watching government for some years now, every other government that comes will tell you that the previous government was bad, the previous government was corrupt, the previous government stole. When Buhari came, he said there was an empty treasury. He said there was fraud everywhere. You understand? He said all those things. Then Buhari has left. We are hearing Tinubu, the same political party. They telling us the same thing. We met an empty treasury. And I don't believe that there was an empty treasury because a whole lot of loans were acquired by government. So if you tell us there was an empty treasury, then somebody must be held accountable. You see, look at the income, look at the loans. Okay. Where is the money? Yes. There has to be a kind of investigation for us to recover what has been stolen.
Yeah, Doctor, sometimes it's difficult to come to terms with sometimes what leaders say and the realities on ground in terms of issues of corruption. And you get a sense of perhaps maybe the corruption in the system is so massive that the president as a person, for instance, cannot deal with it because of how strong, the corrupt system has grown and how long it has taken and all of that. This issue of cabals, is this really an illusion or is it real? And how can, the president, for instance, go beyond that and deal with the issues of corruption head on?
Okay, now, when you use the word cabal, it's, there's what we call semantic, implications of the word. Now, cabal may look like an inner caucus. If you use the word inner caucus, there's no government that does not have an inner caucus. In any organization, even if it's not a government agency, there must be an inner caucus. So it is not wrong for the government to have an inner caucus. But when you talk about a cabal, which has a negative connotation, it means that these guys are involved in fraud. They are involved in illegal activities, So I think that there will always be what I'll call inner caucus in any government. There will always be those.
But it's a speculation that's been on the streets, that there are people that are all about selfish interests, and these people are powerful people.
Yes. Now, but what I'm driving at is that, you see, I think the whole thing depends on the body language of the president. If the president is corrupt, then others will be corrupt. No matter how he comes out to say he fights corruption, they know that this guy is corrupt now. This is what he's doing. So why is he complaining? All of us are doing the same thing. You understand? Right, so if he's not corrupt, then his body language will say, I cannot condone corruption. Then everybody will fall in line. Because you see, like I keep saying, if you go to any ministry, any government ministry today, any government agency, the least person, the security man at the gate knows what the minister is doing. I'm telling you. Because they know what is right and they know what is not right. Because all of them have read all the rules, civil service rules. They have read the civil service rules. They know what the ministers, if you make any of them minister, they can do the job. Because they know what the minister should do and what the minister should not do. But the thing is that if there is no deliberate attempt to say these rules must be obeyed, then we'll continue to have corruption.
So I want to hear your thoughts on what is happening with Emefiele's case. We all know how sometimes Nigeria would come make noise about certain issues and then another one would come and suppress that one. So right now the humanitarian ministry is suppressing Emefiele's own, and right now we're realizing that there's been things in court and there's violation of rights, and Emefiele has been granted 100 million naira of damages. Why are we seeing this now? Like, even though it's saying that the FCC are going to appeal the judgment, but then what is going on? Could it be that the EFCC did not really guide at what is really needed before taking this to court? And how did we get from accusing Emefiele from doing a lot of things allegedly So now paying him another 100 million naira, or you know, as compensation.
You know, actually, I think what happens is I think the white man say putting the cart before the horse. You know, the horse is supposed to drive the cart, but then we put the cart before the horse, so it's the other way around. You know, what ought to have been done is this: before taking Emefiele, before arresting Emefiele, the EFCC, the DSS, they ought to have done their investigation conclusively or near conclusively, so that by the time Emefiele is taken to court or was taken to court, you know what you will see is, oh, these are the things that you have done. These are the evidences that we have gathered against you. These are the witnesses against you. Now respond. You understand? But in this case, he was taken out of circulation, you know, beyond the number of days that he was supposed to be in detention. Then you began to gather, what do you call it? I mean, you began to look for his faults. Even Jim Obaze's report is being disputed right now, because, you know, the aspect of hearing the other side, fair hearing, you know, they are saying that they were not even given the opportunity to speak. From what we know about basic investigation, you know, documents are not enough. You know, if you have documents to say this person stole money, it's not enough. You see, there are other things that you need to do. You need to prove that, look, these things, you don't tell us how these things were done. Now, even if you say Emefiele stole money and you get to the court will say, okay, he stole money, yes, how do you know? You understand? You have to now bring witnesses who say, well, Emefiele stole this money, I was there, he forced me to sign this, he forced me to do that and all this and that. So if you don't do this thing conclusively, and you take somebody to court, then to prison, over a period of 2, 3, 4 months, the person will have to say, look, you violated my rights. And that's been the problem we have with the investigative systems in this, all the agencies of government that do investigation. They don't complete the investigation before the arrest. You know, they will say, we are taking out to investigate so we can investigate. Now, you see, there are discrete approaches to gathering information, gathering evidence, and you have to complete these things. You know, because, of course, you are government. You have all the instruments, you have all the authority, you know, to call anybody to question. You know, you can even call his staff to question why you are doing your investigation. They'll give you all the evidence, then you now take it to court. But when you now drag him to court and dump him there, and you are waiting for somebody to tell you, what do we do now? It's okay, take him to Kuje. What do we do now? Okay, take him to Lagos prison. What do we do now? Somebody is giving you instruction instead of you acting based on the rule or based on the evidence that you have.
In fact, even we've seen court violations at some point as regards the issue of the Emefiele case, where the court gave an injunction, you know, for him to be remanded in the custody of the correctional services, and then he was whisked away by the DSS and so on.
So we see a lot of interference. You know, the security agencies maybe not even being allowed to do their jobs. Somebody giving them instruction, this is what you should do, this is what you should do, and all this. So it will complicate issues.
Does this
and for anybody who can fight for his right, yeah, you go to court and
do you think that this reinforces the whole notion that this whole Emefiele case is more politically motivated?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think it is witch hunt. You know, because even when he was CBN governor, sincerely, we kept shouting, you know, we kept saying, this is wrong. This money is missing. Right. This money is not accounted for. You cannot be using the CBN as a loan, to be giving loan to individuals. You are doing the work of a commercial bank. We kept shouting, these things are not being accounted
Doctor,
for. We kept saying it. So
at the end of the day, Nigerians, need to keep the momentum of holding these people and following every case and not forgetting them until we know for certain that the law has taken its course. Thank you so much, Dr. Theophilus Abba, Program Director, Daily Trust Foundation, for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.